The sound of a high-powered rifle shot echoes across the barren landscape, followed by a chilling silence. Through the crosshairs of her scope, Mila Cross watches a figure moving through the smoke of an alien bombardment. It's Drakthar Khan, the Coalition's deadliest sniper, now on Earth to eliminate her and her comrades. But Mila doesn't flinch. She's been waiting for this moment her entire life. The game is about to begin. The city lay in ruins, a skeleton of its former self. Once a vibrant metropolis, it now whispered only of loss and decay. Mila Cross crouched low, her back pressed against the cold steel of a collapsed building. Her breathing was slow and controlled, each exhale barely audible in the thick, stagnant air. The world had fallen silent, save for the distant hum of alien engines and the occasional rumble of a ground-shaking blast. She was a ghost, camouflaged amidst the rubble, just another part of the landscape. She adjusted her scope, the crosshairs lining up with the distant heat signature. The target was moving. No, it was Drakthar Khan. Her mind, sharp and calculating, recognized the methodical movements of the Coalition's deadliest sniper. He was hunting, but so was she. Through the lens of her rifle, she studied him, his alien exoskeleton shimmering in the dim light as he expertly moved through the wreckage. Drakthar was methodical, a predator closing in on its prey. He had been dropped onto Earth's surface just hours ago, and now, the hunt had begun. Mila's fingers tightened around the trigger. A rush of adrenaline surged through her veins, but she pushed it down. Patience. Focus. That's how she had survived all these years. Every second, every breath mattered. The slightest mistake could be her last. She keyed her comm device, a soft click in her earpiece. "Cross, you still have eyes on him?" The voice on the other end was calm, familiar. Her handler, Sergeant Torres. "Copy that," Mila replied, her voice a whisper. "I have him in sight. He's good. Too good." Torres chuckled, the sound of static cutting through his words. "He's the best of the best, Cross. But remember, so are you." Mila didn't respond. Words were pointless now. She could hear the distant hum of the Coalition ship, a dark silhouette against the blood-red sky. They were watching, waiting for her to make a move. But she was no rookie. She had dealt with worse than Drakthar before. Her thoughts drifted to the past, her training, the endless hours of preparation. It had been brutal, unforgiving. There was no room for mistakes. If she hesitated, if she second-guessed herself for even a moment, she would be dead. Drakthar's figure moved again, his steps deliberate as he navigated the remains of a collapsed building. He was closing in on her position. Mila knew this game. It was all about the setup. The more predictable he became, the easier it would be to lead him into her trap. But she was outnumbered. She was one against the best the galaxy had to offer. A sniper on a planet that had been ravaged by war, against an enemy that had never failed to conquer. "All right," she muttered under her breath. "Let's dance." She slowly adjusted her position, sliding along the edge of the rubble, her movements fluid and precise. The ground was littered with debris, pieces of metal, shattered glass, and twisted wreckage from the bombardment that had left Earth in ruins. Every step she took was calculated, silent. She was a shadow in the ruins of her own world. Her heart was steady as her hands worked in unison, reloading her rifle with the precision of a machine. Each motion felt familiar, a rhythm she had perfected. The feeling of the cold, metallic rifle against her hands, the click of the chamber locking into place, it all felt like muscle memory. She could already hear the wind rushing through the barrel as she aimed once more. Through the scope, she could see Drakthar's movements become more deliberate, more focused. He was close now, moving with the confidence of someone who believed they were the hunter. "You think you've got me, don't you?" Mila whispered under her breath, a grim smile pulling at the corners of her lips. She wasn't just waiting to fire. She was setting him up. Her comm device crackled once more. "Cross, you need to move? You can't stay put for long." "I know," she replied, never taking her eyes off the target. "But it's not time yet." The wind shifted, carrying the faint scent of ozone and charred earth. She squinted against the dim light, watching Drakthar adjust his position, his alien senses no doubt sharp enough to detect her presence. He was good, too good, but Mila had something he didn't. The element of surprise. She took a deep breath, steadying her aim. Her finger hovered just above the trigger. Any moment now, she would have to make her move. She had no backup. There were no reinforcements. It was just her, Earth, and the enemy. If she failed, humanity's last line of defense would be gone. A voice on the comm interrupted her thoughts. Cross, he's getting closer. We can't afford to wait much longer. Mila didn't respond. The cold steel of her rifle seemed to hum in her grip as she watched Drakthar take another step toward her. He was close enough now that she could almost hear his footsteps, the soft clicking of his alien armor against the cracked concrete. He was so close. The wind shifted again, a fraction of a second in her favor. Mila exhaled, steadying herself. Then she fired. The shot rang out like thunder, the sound splitting the silence. But Drakthar wasn't where she expected him to be. He'd already moved. Mila cursed under her breath. She had miscalculated. The predator was no longer in her sights. She quickly shifted her position, scanning the ruins, searching for the faintest movement. He was too good. The hunt was on. Cross, he's got you, Torres said, his voice tight. He's coming for you now. I know, she replied. But he's not the only one hunting. Her scope flicked from building to building, scanning for any sign of movement. She could feel the adrenaline spike, her pulse quickening. She had missed her shot, but she wouldn't miss again. Not this time. The game had only just begun. Mila crouched low behind the jagged remains of a concrete pillar, her breath barely rising above a whisper. The wind shifted again, the dust swirling in eddies around her position. She didn't need the dust to tell her Drakthar was still out there. His presence hung in the air like a dark omen, his every movement calculated, like a predator closing in on its prey. The shot had missed, but she had not been seen. Not yet. Mila's fingers itched around the grip of her rifle as she shifted her weight, making sure she was in perfect alignment with the terrain. The city was a labyrinth of rubble now, broken walls, collapsed rooftops, and twisted metal structures. There was no clear path, no escape, only the endless ruins of what had once been a thriving hub of human life. The sound of distant explosions rumbled in the background, another wave of bombardment by the coalition ships, intended to break the human defenses once and for all. But Mila's focus was sharp. She had learned to thrive amidst chaos. Through the scope, she caught a flicker of movement. Drakthar. He had circled back, a perfect shadow against the ruins of the city. His alien armor reflected the faint light, glimmering in the silence, as he moved with a deadly precision. Every step he took was calculated. He wasn't just walking, he was stalking. She had underestimated his speed. He was faster than she thought, and he knew Earth's terrain better than any outsider should. She had expected him to take the long route around, but he was already close. Too close. Mila exhaled slowly, steadying her aim. Her fingers moved lightly over the controls of her rifle, adjusting for wind and distance. She would need to be faster this time. She couldn't afford another mistake. Her comm device crackled in her ear, pulling her from her thoughts. Cross, you've got company. Coalition's deployed more troops. You need to move. She didn't respond, keeping her gaze fixed on Drakthar, who was now just 100 yards away. He was heading toward her last position, unaware that she had already moved. A perfect setup. If she could just get the right angle. She was running out of time. Another voice crackled through the comm, this time sharper. Cross, we've tracked his signal. We're getting closer, but you've got to lead him out. No time to waste. Fall back if you need to. Mila glanced down at the small tactical map displayed on her wrist pad. The markers showing the coalition's movements were scattered around the city, a web of red and orange. But Drakthar was the center of it all. If she could lead him toward the southern outskirts, she could set up an ambush, use the terrain to her advantage. She wasn't alone in this fight. But it felt like it sometimes. She slid out from behind the pillar, her movements swift but quiet. Her boots barely made a sound as she moved along the fractured edges of the city, weaving through the rubble. Her heart was steady, she was used to this. The trick was not letting the adrenaline take over, not letting fear cloud her judgment. The ground trembled lightly beneath her as another explosion went off somewhere in the distance. She knew it was only a matter of time before Drakthar would catch on to her tactics. She had to think faster. She reached a small rise in the rubble, and from there, she spotted him again through her scope. He was moving steadily, methodically, his sharp yellow eyes scanning the area. Mila had learned how to read those eyes. His focus never wavered, always locked onto the task at hand. "Come on," she muttered under her breath, just loud enough for herself to hear. "Take the bait." Drakthar stopped, his head tilting slightly, as if sensing something was off. She had anticipated this. He was too good not to notice the small movements around him. But he had underestimated her ability to blend in. She fired again. This time, the shot didn't miss. The blast rang out, striking the edge of a nearby building, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Drakthar reacted immediately, ducking behind cover. But Mila had already shifted her position, moving further down into the wreckage, keeping herself out of sight. The first shot had been a decoy, an attention grabber. Now she could move freely. She keyed her comm device, speaking quickly. "He's moving west. I'll take him to the southern ridge. Ready the team." "Copy that, Cross," Torres replied, his voice calm, though she could sense the urgency beneath it. "We're on our way." She couldn't wait for reinforcements. They were still too far out. It was up to her now. Mila pushed herself into a full sprint, her movements like lightning through the broken city. The buildings blurred past her, and the air was thick with dust and the scent of ozone. She kept low to the ground, using the debris for cover, making her way toward the ridge where the high ground would give her an advantage. Another blast echoed in the distance, followed by a series of rapid-fire shots. She could hear the sound of Drakthar's rifle, the sharp crack of his shots splitting the air. The sound made her pulse quicken, but she didn't slow down. She was used to it by now, the constant pressure, the never-ending hunt. It was what kept her alive. As she neared the ridge, Mila paused for a moment to assess her surroundings. The terrain was rocky and uneven, the kind of landscape that would make it difficult for Drakthar to use his advanced tracking equipment. It was exactly what she needed. The ridge would give her a perfect vantage point, but only if she could get there first. She took a deep breath, scanning the horizon once more. Then, she spotted him again. Drakthar was moving fast now, heading straight for the ridge. "Damn it!" she muttered, realizing he had already figured out her plan. Her mind raced. She had one chance to catch him off guard. Mila sprinted the final stretch, her legs burning with effort, until she reached the top of the ridge. She set up her rifle quickly, positioning herself behind a large boulder for cover. Her heart pounded, her pulse thumping in her ears. She had to wait. Patience. Drakthar was close. Through her scope, she saw him approach, his silhouette now outlined against the faint light of the setting sun. He didn't see her, yet. This was it. Mila steadied her breath, lining up the perfect shot. But just as her finger brushed the trigger, Drakthar stopped. He turned his head slightly, his eyes narrowing. He was onto her. It was now or never. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting an eerie, crimson glow across the shattered landscape. The sky, once a vibrant blue, was now painted with hues of fire and ash. Mila Cross's fingers tightened on her rifle as she peered through the scope, tracking the figure of Drakthar Khan moving slowly up the ridge. He had stopped several yards from her position, his alien eyes scanning the surroundings with unnerving precision. He knew. Mila's pulse quickened, but she didn't move. She had learned a long time ago that any sudden movement would betray her location. She remained motionless behind the boulder, her body pressed into the rough stone, her breath shallow. The wind had died down, the air heavy with the scent of dust and the acrid remains of the bombarded city. "Damn it, Mila!" Torres's voice crackled in her earpiece, tight with urgency. "We've got the signal from his backup team. They're closing in. You need to finish this." "I know," Mila whispered, barely audible. Her eyes remained fixed on Drakthar. "But I can't afford another mistake. He's too close." The alien had been closing in on her position for hours now. His hunting instincts, far more advanced than any human could ever hope for, had forced Mila to adapt. She had laid trap after trap, used every trick in the book, but each time, Drakthar had slipped through her fingers. Now, in this moment, she realized that he wasn't just another enemy to eliminate. He was a challenge, a test of everything she had become. Her rifle's crosshairs hovered just over his shoulder, but something was wrong. He wasn't walking straight toward her, as she had expected. No, Drakthar was calculating, analyzing. She could almost feel the gears turning inside his mind. He was waiting. Mila swallowed, trying to steady the tremor of adrenaline coursing through her veins. He could see her. He could feel her presence. She had no choice now. Either she made the shot, or Drakthar would be the one to fire first. The seconds dragged on, each one stretching into infinity, as they both waited for the other to make the first move. But Mila knew Drakthar wouldn't be the one to make a mistake. His pride was his greatest weapon, and he wouldn't allow himself to be outplayed. She adjusted her aim slightly, following the lines of his movements. There was a twitch in his left leg, an almost imperceptible shift in his posture as he surveyed the horizon. He was getting ready to move again. This was it. Mila took a breath, slow and steady, aligning the rifle once more. Then, with a snap of decision, she shifted her weight, sliding her body into a new position behind the boulder. She had been holding back too long. If she let him dictate the pace, it was over. Her rifle steadied as she exhaled, her finger brushing the trigger. "No," she muttered, almost to herself. The shot rang out like the roar of thunder, deafening in the silence of the ravaged landscape. The bullet traveled faster than thought, slicing through the air in a straight, unerring line. But just as it was about to strike, Drakthar's body jerked, and he ducked, almost too fast, as if he had anticipated her move. The bullet missed by inches. Mila's heart raced as she quickly adjusted for the miscalculation, her eyes tracking his rapid movements through the scope. He had been too fast, but not fast enough to avoid the second shot. He was already up and running, sprinting toward a rocky outcrop to her left. Mila knew that he would try to close the distance between them, force her into a close-quarters confrontation where his alien strength would give him the upper hand. "No," she whispered. "Not this time." Her instincts kicked in, and she sprang to her feet, moving faster than she had ever moved before. She dropped her rifle, pulling a second weapon from the side of her gear pack. A small, compact railgun, perfect for rapid fire. She didn't have the luxury of taking a calculated shot anymore. She needed to break the rhythm, unsettle him. Mila sprinted towards the low ridge ahead, her legs pumping as the world blurred around her. Her mind was razor-focused. She could feel the sweat on her brow, but she pushed it away, blocking out everything except the movement ahead. Drakthar was almost there. But so was she. Through the smoke and dust, she saw the glint of his alien armor. His yellow eyes glowed, locking onto her for the briefest moment before he turned, bounding up a small mound of rubble. The moment she had been waiting for. Mila took her shot. The railgun fired, the energy blast streaking through the air with a deadly hiss. Drakthar turned in time to see the incoming projectile, but not fast enough to evade it. The blast hit him square in the chest, sending him flying backward into a pile of debris. For a heartbeat, everything went still. Mila was already on the move, her heart pounding in her chest, the taste of victory bitter on her tongue. She had to be certain. She had to finish it now. The alien lay in the rubble, his body twitching as he tried to rise. Mila approached cautiously, her weapon raised. Her mind was still racing, every thought sharp and precise. He had been hit, but was he down for good? "Drakthar!" she called out, her voice cold as ice. He didn't respond, but she could see the faint glow of his eyes in the wreckage, still searching, still alive. The arrogance of the coalition had made him overconfident. He thought his training would make him invincible. But Mila knew better. "I told you I would end this," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Drakthar's chest heaved, but he managed a raspy chuckle, his glowing eyes still defiant. "You've won for now. But you will never be free of us." Mila didn't flinch. "Maybe. But Earth won't fall. Not to the likes of you." She didn't wait for his response. With a steady hand, she aimed her weapon one final time. The shot rang out, a clean, final strike. The alien's body stilled. Mila stood there for a moment, the weight of her victory settling in. But it wasn't joy she felt. It was the hollow emptiness of another battle won, another life lost. The war would continue, but for now, Earth had a chance. The faint hum of a ship's engine reached her ears as reinforcements began to arrive. She didn't turn, not yet. She simply let the silence swallow her, the sky above her blood red and the city beneath her forever changed.